Hello, students. Uh, my name is Dr. Shabana Yasmin Khan, and I'm your instructor for your third paper, Prose. All right. So, if you are a BA student, uh, definitely you know what prose is. But if you are not from a background of literature, then sometime in your school or college life, you have definitely had written an essay. So, essay is a type of prose writing. And in our syllabus, we basically have essays to study. Mm, Essays written by British writers, iconic essays. All right. So, the first thing I want to tell you is to define prose. What is prose? The definition is absolutely simple. All right. It's a very, very simple definition. Prose is the ordinary language people use in speaking or writing. Ordinary, straightforward language, following the natural flow of words. The grammatical structures are there. Line breaks are not there. No rhyme and rhythm, just ordinary language. Now, this distinguishes it from poetry. Poetry is something which has rhyme, which has rhythm, which has line breaks. Grammatical structure is may not be followed. So this is the basic difference between the structure. All right. Prose is used to convey ideas. Poetry to convey emotions. Basically, this is the basic difference. Prose delivers information. It will tell a story. All right. Uh, so everything which is not poetry is prose. We can say that. Works of philosophy, history, economics, and political science, journalism, fiction, the novels we read, uh, are all examples of works written in prose. So, prose basically is of two types, fictional prose and non-fictional prose. Fictional prose, um, where an author is telling a story which is not fully based on true events. Okay. Uh, he's telling a story. The characters are, fictitious, and like novels we read, novels, short stories. These are fictions. Non-fictional prose, when the author is talking about some real event, okay, something very real, something very true, and it can be a document. He wants to give you some information of the real world, like for example the language in which the newspaper articles are written. So newspapers, autobiographies, biographies, confessions and travelogues, and even literary criticism and diaries and memoirs and your encyclopedia and your atlas and your bibliography, dictionary, and essays. All are examples of non-fictional prose because the writer is trying to convey something which is very real, connected to the real world. So, in our syllabus, we are supposed to read essays. Okay? So, essay, you know, well, what is an essay? Essay is a very analytical, interpretative, or critical literary composition, usually much shorter than a dissertation or a thesis. All right. And it deals with its subjects from a limited point of view and a personal point of view. Uh, it is a piece of writing, we can say, that is designed to present an idea or make an argument, exhibit emotion, or start a debate, maybe. So, this particular literary type, which we call an essay, is of a very critical nature. And the writer expresses his opinions, his ideas on a particular thing. Uh, essays are of many types. The broadest classification is that essays can be classified into formal and informal essays. Formal essays, a very logical structure, a very, very formal tone and length. All right. The writer is not uh, revealing himself. But informal essays, they are very unconventional and they are very, very individual. Now, in those essays, the writer is going to talk about his personal experiences. So, in our syllabus, we have both types of essays, okay, formal and informal, both. And the first person in the history of English literature who started writing essays in English. The credit to be the first proper essayist, okay, that credit goes to Francis Bacon. Mm, must have heard his name. He's a very big name in the Elizabethan and in the Jacobean times. He was a politician and he has written a lot of essays. A lot of essays, small essays, very short essays, and where he is talking about not his personal experiences, he's actually giving his readers a slice of wisdom, some value he's teaching, and his essays are written on a variety of topics which are directly related to the human experience. All right. So we in our syllabus we have his essay on truth, on death, on ambition, on adversity. Other writers of his times, we have Abraham Cowley, Thomas Fuller, Joseph Hall, a lot of essay writers, but they are not there in the syllabus. Then the next essay writers, there are two actually, two very good friends. They come from the 18th century. And the 18th century was the age of the periodical essay. If you have read it, the periodicals, you know, uh, they were sort of newspapers. And in those periodicals, they were called periodicals because they were delivered periodically, twice a week, thrice a week, not daily. So they had all the things today's newspapers have. Okay. They had advertisements, they have what's going on in politics. If somebody wants to sell something, a house maybe, so the advertisement was put in the periodical, and a lot of literary criticism, and a lot of scientific news, everything was there. So the editors of the periodicals, they used to write essays for their periodicals, and two such writers, Joseph Edison and Richard Steele, they published two periodicals, two very important periodicals of the 18th century, the Tatler and the Spectator, and they wrote essays for every edition of the periodical. So we have more than 500 essays by these two friends. And it's there in our syllabus also. Four of the essays are there in the syllabus also. And they wrote for the growing middle class readership. And the essays are full of humor, wit, and social commentary. And they became very, very popular. Another very striking characteristics of the essays of uh, Edison and Steele is that the language is very simple. All right, because it was the essays were meant for the public, the general public. The language was simple. We don't find a lot of references to works which people could not understand. So, simple language and very interesting essays. And other writers of that age, you must have heard the name of Samuel Johnson. He was another writer. Then comes in the 19th century, right? And 19th century, the Romantic Age. Romantic Age means, the writer is talking about his personal feelings. That is the first quality of romantic literature. The writer is talking about feelings, and most of the times the feelings are his own. So, and there is a lot of passion, and there is a lot of imagination, emotional expression in the works, whether it is poetry or whether it is prose. So the emphasis of the writer is the writer himself, and he's talking about his individual experiences. The writer we have in our syllabus is Charles Lamb, a very, very known name. And he introduced the personal essay, the familiar essay, the essay about the author, about his school days, about his life in the office, what he's facing, his relationships with his friends. All are the topics for the essays of Charles Lamb. And his essays are marked by warmth, humor, and a very conversational tone. And all his essays, the other romantic writers also, whether it is Hazlitt or whether it is De Quincey or whoever, they wrote about their own experiences, their relationships, their inner thoughts, their experiences. And these essays have a deeply personal tone. So we have two essays of Charles Lamb, Christ Hospital and Imperfect Sympathies. Very beautiful essays. When we come to the essays of the Victorian age, we have one writer from the Victorian age in our syllabus, and that is Thomas Carlyle. And as you must be knowing, that the Victorian age was the age of science and progress and industrial revolution. And it was basically a time of rapid change. A lot of developments were going on in society, and the essay has to adapt accordingly. And usually, the essay saw a diversification in the Victorian period because we see the essays tackling a lot of problems. People wrote on topics ranging from science, scientific inquiry, social reform, philosophy, and literature also. So the essay was now increasingly used to engage with public issues and intellectual debates. The Victorian essays were often very long and more formal, and they had a very serious tone. That we'll see in the essay of Thomas Carlyle. Thomas Carlyle is a big name in Victorian literature, and he used his essay for historical and philosophical exploration. His essay, Hero as a Poet, is there in our syllabus. And in this essay, he defends hero worship. And he believes that heroism is a guiding force in history, and he feels that society needs heroes, strong, virtuous individuals to lead others. So that is the gist of his essay. We will see it in detail. The other writers, of course, we have Matthew Arnold, we have John Ruskin, but we have Carlyle in our syllabus. In the modern age, in the 20th century, more experiments were done with essay from the point of view of the voice and the content. Uh, Essay became a tool of political critique also, and creative nonfiction. And a lot of writers in the 20th century wrote essays. Virginia Woolf, a very big name, George Orwell, uh, Aldous Huxley, A.G. Gardiner, a lot of people wrote. And A.G. Gardiner is there in our syllabus. Two of his essays are there. He writes very gracefully, in a very graceful style. He gives moral insight. There is some morality in his essays, and there is gentle humor also. His works appeared in newspapers and periodicals, and he contributed significantly to the development of the modern personal essay. He addressed everyday topics, the manners, the habits, people, public behavior, with deep observation and personal insight. So, this is what we are going to study. Okay, the first focus will be how essay started and how it changed with time. All right. So it started with Francis Bacon in the 1600s, and how it is today in the 21st century. This is the age of blogs and so many other things. So this is what the syllabus is all about.